I will call this meeting, the Sandy City Council, to order at 7:06. Everybody, do we have a flag? Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
We don't, Councilor Smollett. I apologize.
We don't have one? Okay.
No, but we can.
Yep. Well, let's stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance anyway. Yeah. Let's do it. I pledge allegiance to the flag,
the
United States of America, and to this republic
which stands
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
Apologies for that. I'm out of practice with the virtual flag.
It's okay. I'm gonna muddle my way through this myself. So I'm looking at the agenda on my phone. So when you see me look away from the screen, that's why. Jeff, will you do the roll call, please?
Yes, Councilor Mayton.
Present virtually.
Councilor Smollett.
Here.
Councilor Sheldon.
Here.
Councilor Walker.
Here.
Councilor Exner.
I'm here in Sandy.
Councilor Hokanson.
Here.
And Mayor Pulliam
is absent and excused.
Great.
All right. Do we have any changes to the agenda? All right. Hearing none, I'll move on to public comment.
And Council President, we did not have any submissions for public comment this evening.
Okay. Do we have any response to previous public comment? I didn't think so. All right. Consent agenda. I'll take a motion if anybody's ready.
I'll make a motion that we accept the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Awesome. We have a motion by Councilor Sheldon and a second by Councilor Hokanson. Everyone agree, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Or raise your thumb. Opposed? Awesome. Agenda passes. All right. And moving right on to new business. This thing's flying.
Well, Tyler, do you want me to?
I'll just tee it up for you, Rochelle, and I'll turn it right over to you. Council, thank you for joining us this evening virtually. As you know, we've got the community campus, previously known community campus project, now Cedar Park project that's underway. We've got the demolition of the skate park currently taken off. We've already approved a contract for the skate park pump track and jump line. And this is the next sort of step in the process to get the rest of the park under contract and ready for development. And with that, I'll turn it over to Rochelle to run through the process and the bids that we received and go from there.
Yeah. All right. Good evening, Council and Council President. Thank you for this opportunity this evening. This is another milestone we've been waiting for. We've got the invitation to bid that went out for the construction of Cedar Park. And I'll just do a quick overview of where those bids resulted in. And the question before you tonight is whether to authorize the city manager to execute a contract for the park construction for the community campus, which is now referred to officially as Cedar Park. So in pursuit of the council goal, we did, staff initiated an invitation to bid in late 2023. And the park construction portion of it will involve the grading, the right-of-way improvements, utility installation, playground creation, the construction of a parking lot, walking path, and the installation of a shelter and a restroom. And just a reminder that the final park concept was established through robust public engagement. And there is a dedicated website that we're using as our project hub to communicate the progress of the project. And that was provided in your staff report. So if you're interested in the final vision and where that's at, that's a really great resource to follow. So regarding the invitation to bid for the construction of Cedar Park, we did receive 5 submissions, and the following 5 firms submitted bids. So we have Robert Evans Company with a bid of $4,580,503. PNC Construction in the amount of $4,032,000. ASA Construction in the amount of $3,790,000 $3,854, Paul Brothers at $3,710,470, and then finally we have Goodfellow Bros LLC in the amount of $3,494,585. So we were pleased with the responses, and after we reviewed all the bids for completeness, we did issue an intent to award to the lowest responsive responsible bidder, and the winning bid was Goodfellow Bros LLC. So they were determined the lowest responsive responsible bidder, and as such, they are considered the preferred lowest bidder for this park project. And therefore, staff recommends authorizing the city manager to execute a construction project contract for Cedar Park to Goodfellows LLC in the amount of $3,494,585. And with that brief summary, I'll turn it over to Councilor Smallwood.
Back to me. Do we have any discussion? Yeah, go ahead, Kathleen.
I just wanted to, one of the questions that I had asked about was that there was in the contract 4 add-ons totaling about $318,000. That was the shelter, the rubberized surfacing on the playground, vehicular concrete on the paths, and electric conduit on the loop path. And that was not part of this total at this point in time. And I kind of was asking, well, you know, we need to have all those things in the contract. And so how do we get that done? And so in talking with folks, there's the possibility of adding those back into as an add-on into the contract as a contract amendment, or I'll leave it to Rochelle to explain how that gets done. But anyway, my I guess I hope that our collective intent is to go ahead and include those things. They're thinking that the demo is going to come in under budget and save up some money and stuff. And so once we kind of get a little bit more farther along on the costs, they said, then we could kind of determine how we would include those add-ons back into this original contract. But I want to just say, you really knocked it out of the park. So not, no pun intended there, Michelle, at pulling this contract together. I'm really excited. It says a start date of January 17th. So I'm just like, oh, tomorrow's the start day. Oh my God, it's really happening. So just kudos to you and all your team and the consultants and designers and all that. So I just wanted to have that discussion about those add-on items so that we could, if there was any issues or anything like that, but just know that that was something that we'd be coming back to kind of decide and talk about at a later date.
Rochelle, do you want to add anything to that, just as far as process goes?
Yeah, absolutely. I can add on to that. So yeah, currently we're operating within the allocated budget that was provided by council. And that's why the ad alternatives were not included in this round. Like Kathleen had said, the further along in the park project we get, we're including the total of soft costs, hard costs, and we are holding a contingency for any unforeseen items that may happen. So based on that, we're currently within the budget. And as things progress, we hope it goes smoothly. As we all know that oftentimes construction projects, you have to carry a contingency for unanticipated items. But as we move through the process, some of those ad alternatives may be able to be added back into the scope based on how our budget is aligning as we move forward with the construction project.
Yeah, Don.
So this bid that came in, how close was that to your construction or your estimates that we had before we went out to bid? I'm gathering from that last discussion that this was right at your upper limit. Is that correct? Or was it higher?
Yeah, so we had an engineer's estimate of about 3.5 million, and this came in at roughly 3.5 million. So
gotcha.
This is a kudos to Lango Hansen and their estimating. So, and well done. And then the market's settling a little bit. So we went out for bid at the right time for this.
And related to that, because we've missed opportunities before, but that last item, electric conduit, is so expensive to add later and so cheap to add at the time you're doing it that I would just like to go on record here as saying that's noise in a $3.5 million contract. I think it should have been included. And it looks like some of my fellow counselors agree. If we choose to make a motion to include that tonight, does that affect the timing of issuing this contract?
Not at all. No. What we could do is we could do an amendment, or the council could approve the first ad alternative in tonight's contract award, and then we would let the contractor know tomorrow when we do notice to proceed that one of the items that actually, thank you, Councilor Hokanson, for that, because that would have been a priority on our list of things if we were to rank the ad alternatives for priority. So that definitely would have been something that would have been first on the list.
Yeah, well, I certainly recommend we include it tonight.
I see an amendment in the future. Carl, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing with Councilor Hokanson, that we should take that addendum on there. Do we know if the contractor has their bid is within our parameters?
I'm sorry, Carl, was that, I'm sorry, Councilor Exner, was
I'm
that for
talking
me?
about money. I just want to make sure that we know we have enough money. It's not very much, but is the contractor able to, willing to have a bid for this add-on?
Yes, these ad alternatives actually came directly from the contractor.
All right, and they're within our budget.
We can make it a priority.
Okay, all right.
And I would say that, I mean, the picnic shelter might be something that you could do as a, after the fact or when everything shakes out, but the rubberized surfacing, using vehicular strength concrete on the paths, and like Councilor Hokanson said about the electric conduit, those are things that really I think need to be, our intent needs to be to include those in this initial contract. And I'm okay if we approve the one tonight and then we do another one in 2 weeks or a month or whatever it is to determine how we're going to pay for it, whether it become from a reduced costs on the demo, or we use some of the set aside money that we use for the I think we set aside about $500,000 in the council budget for these kind of things. So, how we pay for it, I think we can decide later, but I just wanted to know that it was our intent to kind of include those things. And like I said, the picnic shelter, I could go either way on that, but if we want to wait on that, but the other three things are pretty, like you said, integrated into the initial design and all.
Yeah, we can easily find an additional $26,730 for the conduit for electric. I think likewise, we can probably easily find another $27,000 for the vehicular concrete, and then maybe hold off on the picnic shelter and rubberized surfacing until we get the final demo cost to bring those back to you.
Okay, can you kind of clarify, Rochelle, what the rubberized, I mean, like what would we have? Would we just have asphalt if we didn't have rubberized surfacing, or what
Yeah,
if we had to take that off the list? What would that look like for us?
That is a really good question. Thank you for asking that. So if you can see my screen, I'm sharing right now. You can see the top picture is engineered wood fiber. That is the fall material that currently has spec'd. The bottom picture includes the dark shaded area. That would be the rubberized pour in place alternative. If we choose and have the funds to do the rubberized material, this is what it would look like. Otherwise, it would revert back to the engineered wood fiber. So
Okay, so that, go ahead.
So there will not be concrete. Sorry.
Go ahead, Don.
What does rubberized surface give us? Does it give us more ADA access? Or is it just nicer, lower maintenance? I mean, what are the benefits? I'm ignorant of this sort of thing.
Yeah, actually both of those points, Counselor. So it provides easier access to the play amenities because it's a rubberized pour in place. So it's easier for accessible wheeled devices to get to those. And then it is lower maintenance in that you're not having to come back in and you know, fill in the engineered wood fiber.
And I did hear some some conversation and, you know, comments from folks that have kids in wheelchairs, and they, when it was presented as being all wood fiber, they said that's, great, we can, get on the sidewalk, we can get them up to the top of the slide, but getting them to the, bottom and going to other places is not real possible for a lot of kids in wheelchairs. And so I really like the idea of having some of that on there for ADA access for those. I appreciate y'all including that. I hope we can do it.
So what's the dollar value we're adding to it? And confirm to me that we have the money for it somewhere and where to come from.
181,000. Don't know where.
We don't know. That's a concern for me. I'm not willing to vote for it unless we don't have a source for it.
Well, we have $500,000 set aside for council priorities. That's where.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can go after another grant for this in this new year too, correct, Rochelle?
Yeah, that is correct. And this would be one of those things where within the next couple of months, we'd have to make a decision as far as making that a priority or finding that money.
But we might also, if we save, expected savings with the demo, that could pay for that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key right now. If we don't want to impact the council contingency, that 500,000 that was set aside, and if we don't want to impact other contingencies at the moment, waiting, 6 or 8 weeks to make sure we get through the beginning phases of this demo project, there's no big surprises right off the bat. I think we'll be able to absorb a good deal of that 181,000, if not all of it.
Okay.
Likewise for the picnic shelter. So I think if everyone's comfortable waiting, a little bit of time to see where costs shake out elsewhere, we can definitely come back for those other 2 add-ons. If there's interest in the $54,000 add-on for the vehicular concrete and electrical conduit, I think we can probably absorb that pretty easily. But that's a small dollar amount compared to 300 and change. So
I'm making too much comments for this, but I've already made my pitch for the conduit. The vehicular concrete is important. One of the things we looked at when we were first exploring this was the ability to land a helicopter in there, recognizing that down the road, we're going to lose some of the current areas we use for helicopter evacs. And currently, the way it's sited, there is room in there to put a helicopter in there, which means you'd want to be able to drive a vehicle down there as well. So to me, that seems like a smart, forward-thinking add-on.
Make your motion, Don.
Okay, well, I move that, let's see, that
I can make a motion because I did the math already. Will you let me do it, Don?
yeah, feel free.
Okay, I make a motion that, hold on. I move to award the contract for the construction of Cedar Park to Goodfellows Brothers LLC and an amount to not to exceed, hold on, $3,548,815, which includes the original bid plus $27,500 for vehicular concrete and $26,730 for electrical conduit.
I second.
Can
right.
we specify what that add-on is? I didn't catch all the numbers. It was 20 something and 50 something
It's about $54,000.
total. Okay.
Total.
All right.
26
Okay.
and 27.
Yep. All right, so I have a motion from Councilor Walker and I have a second from Councilor Hokanson. All those in favor? Give me an eye or a thumbs up.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you, Rochelle.
Thank you.
All right, Tyler, you're up.
well, coming off of that, just say thank you for allowing us to continue to make progress on that project. As you know, I've been viewing that site during my tenure here in Sandy in all different positions, and I'm excited to see some things actually happen over there in the development of that park. So we're very excited and very grateful for the allocation of funds for that. But back to the actual council report that I have for you this evening. Obviously, a huge shout out to Public Works and police and SandyNet for their time and investment over the last few days, clearing roads, clearing sidewalks, parks crew as well, making sure that we had running water and internet working for everyone that's stuck in their home. They've just done an outstanding job and can't thank them enough for all their hard work over the past few days and into the next couple days as well as we deal with whatever sort of ice may or may not accumulate this evening. I think we already briefly talked about this before the meeting started, but trail closure due to the down trees and limbs along Tickle Creek, that's going to take some time to get cleaned up. So just be patient with us as Parks gets as much of that cleaned up as they possibly can over the next few days and probably weeks if we're being realistic in some of those areas. Talk to PGE around 2 o'clock this afternoon. We still have about 1,300 residences or meters without power. I'm not sure what has transpired over the last 4 hours or so, 5 hours since I spoke with them. Down significantly from the peak. I think at one point, almost every home in Sandy was without power for some period of time, and that also meant without SandyNet as well. So we're leaps and bounds ahead of where we were, but there's still some more progress to go. I will say that PGE has been super responsive. I've talked to them several times over the last few days, both with their government affairs specialist as well as the CEO, just as far as status of Sandy, status of the overall electrical network when they were bringing more crew. So they've been very responsive and upfront with reaching out, proactive, and trying to get communication out as best they can. We are seeing some increased calls coming in related to frozen meters. So businesses that were closed or people that hadn't been home for several days with this cold weather. If you hear of anyone questioning whether or not, why don't I have water? What's going on? It's likely a frozen meter. Have them call City Hall or the after hours number. We'll get them transferred to Public Works and they'll respond and see what they can do to get that water flowing again. You also likely saw the water pressure issue. Oh, yeah, Councilor Hoganson.
Hey, on that, we've been rolling out that My Sandy or. Is that a preferred way for people to contact you now? And should we be pushing that, or is that still in the test and figure it out mode and use the phone lines?
I would say it's not preferred or unpreferred. It's a method to contact us. Jeff, I think we've worked out most of the initial kinks, unless there's something that's popped up over the last few days that you.
I mean, if my meter's froze up and I put it in on the website, is that just as good as doing the phone call to the after hours number? That's the question.
I would say so at this point. It appears fully operational. Yep.
It could potentially even be quicker than after hours. In all honesty, the after hours is a service that we use, and then that gets routed back to the on-call Public Works staff member. Yes, sir.
I did hear some anecdotal feedback that the after hours support number is less than professional at times.
Okay.
On some of the phone calls, that it was kind of arbitrary, like who's calling me and why,
Interesting. Had not heard that feedback. Thank you. Okay. I know there was a little bit of confusion on the after hours service yesterday. They were unaware they were closed for the holiday, or at least one of their operators was. And so they told a couple of people to call City Hall, and City Hall, they had the voicemail.
That could be the same incident that I heard. I just passing that along.
Appreciate that. We'll make sure that we button that up a little bit more and they have our holiday schedule so they know when in fact we are not in the office answering phones. Let's see. You heard about the water pressure issue. That's been resolved. There was an instrument failure due to the icy cold weather conditions that gave us a misleading read on the level of water in the reservoir. That's been resolved. There's no issue with the water at all. There was a question about, is it safe to drink? Yes, it's safe to drink. There was not. We didn't reach that threshold where we had to issue a boil water notice or anything like that. A neighboring community, I was told today, did reach that threshold. Similar issue. They didn't catch the reservoir level in time, so they had to issue a boil water notice. We did not have to do that. Water's safe to drink. And we're working on ways to make sure that those instruments don't fail or freeze in the future. Yes, sir.
Sorry.
No.
So back on that, this is just whenever we have a failure on any of these fundamental things, the question, I love it when they're new types of failures we've never had before. That's the kind we want. The key is, what are we going to do so we never have that type of failure again? And so I just want to make sure Jenny's team is looking at that as part of their water robustness, that they look at this as well and include that.
Absolutely. This isn't a failure that we've had before, at least not in the recent past that I'm aware of. Ultimately, we were getting a misinformed, reading. The gauge said we had X level because it was frozen, so it wasn't calling for more water from the Portland supply. We are checking those more frequently now that we know they can freeze, and we do have the SCADA master plan that is specific to technology and communications. And so we're just going to figure out how to implement that.
Whatever level of redundancy, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, you're on the right track. I just wanted to make sure. In the past, the culture was, well, it probably won't happen again, so let's not worry about it. I want to make sure we're looking into how we could have prevented it.
Absolutely. And I have no interest in sending up our utility workers to look into a reservoir to see what the water level is or anything like that in an ice storm or a windstorm. So we're making sure we figure out safe ways for them to make sure that we have redundant water sources and redundant readings so we don't have this problem again. Let's see, we already talked a little bit about the trees that were down on Hamilton Ridge. We're working with those property owners as far as, whatever we need throughout their process of getting their home secured and getting into whatever sort of temporary housing they need, and just being available for structural inspections with our building department, things like that. So I think there could have been many more homes that were damaged, not making light of the few that we did have, but with the amount of wind and the amount of trees we have in our area, this could have been a lot more trees on homes. We're fortunate that it wasn't more widespread. It seemed like they stayed focused in the green spaces and not falling onto as many homes as there was potential for. And last but not least, for me, a similar message that we've had all week. Garbage was canceled the last 2 days. They have not made the call to cancel it tomorrow yet. Is it 3 days?
They did not. I'm in the Bluff neighborhood, and they did not pick up on Friday.
Interesting. Okay, I was under the impression they had, so I'll pass that. I'll
yes,
I'll
that's
check
what
into
they
that.
had on their website too, but it was incorrect.
Okay. I will look into that and figure out what the cause or issue was there. Transfer stations were closed Monday and Tuesday, so even if they were able to pick up waste here, they've been replaced to dispose of it. The transfer stations that are used for our pickup are currently on just a late opening tomorrow. If that stays true and we don't get as much ice as maybe some of the forecasts have called for, it will just be a late pickup tomorrow. We haven't got that official call yet, whether it's a late pickup or cancellation. They have been very communicative with me, informing me of those cancellations. We've shared on Facebook. They're posting about canceled service. So we're trying to get that information out to homeowners and residents in Sandy as quickly as possible as well. But of course, we could always improve and get that message out sooner. So we're just taking that day by day. And that's all I have.
All right. Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you.
Don, you're up.
Cool. Thanks. Sorry, caught me by surprise. I thought you had one more thing to talk about, but I guess not. I just want to say shout out, I guess, to everybody, Public Works staff. I mean, I felt like even when my neighbor called me and the water was trickling, and I got on my phone and chatted on, through I don't even know what's called, chat. Tyler and Jeff, you both responded on a evening when you shouldn't have, and it makes me glad that you guys are paying attention and helping us out. So I think you guys did a great job. So wonderful. And I won't take any more time. Thanks.
All right, Carl, you're up.
Okay, just a couple things. I'm going to add my 6 cents to the positive comments about seem like the city's doing a real good job about making sure they're reactive to it. I also called Tyler up, and he was very responsive, and my person on the thrift center was having troubles getting their water, and they're very happy to have that responded to so quickly. Another piece, I've been using My Sandy app, and I have to say I like the way it works. And I got a response back with some sort of confirmation number, and it was about sanding some of our corners, and I noticed that there was some sanding going on. So appreciate the quick response, and I'm pretty pleased with the My Sandy app. I know there's a bunch of trees down this past few days. Some of those that landed on Tickle Creek and so on, I think we have some conversations about whether or not they should be left there, used for habitat and all that sort of thing. But there's some trees that fell down. I know because I tried to cross 362nd and saw some monsters across the road. What do we have plans for those things? Are those potentially firewood for senior citizens? Are they, I don't know, whatever else they might be? Do we have a end result for that, or do we still have some conversation?
Yeah, that's a great question. We actually had a couple people come into City Hall today asking about, can I take some of that wood in various spots around town? Our position has been not to outright allow it. We don't want to encourage, people parking their car in a median or in a street and unsafely collecting the wood. If someone stops to collect it, we're not going to stop them. That's fine. In the past, we've worked with Kiwanis and I believe Ant Farm to gather some of that to distribute to lower income individuals, and we'll continue to go down that path as well. But
I feel like in the past we've also given it to the Ant Farm for the same reason, so that it could be distributed amongst people in the community who need it.
Yep. Yeah. So we're not deviating far from what we've done in the past. I think the only difference would probably be if there's, someone that gets there before us and clears it up for us. We're not going to prevent them or restrict them from doing that.
Yeah.
Just don't want to see a bunch of folks out there trying to fight for each piece of firewood. I think that's not so cool, but getting it out of the road, getting it off of our trails, certainly want to do that as quick as possible. But just don't think that the stuff on the roads really is needed to be left there. But there's lots of other reasons why it shouldn't be. But inside our trees and our riparian areas, our green areas, I think there's some conversation there. But leave that for maybe our planning folks could talk about how that might be utilized, either left, maybe made safe, fire safety, all that can be talked and thought through. With that, I am done.
Or parks. I mean, obviously not necessarily a decision for council, but I'd really rather see that firewood go to people in the community who need it before it goes to people who are going to try and make money off of it. So
yeah, I'm mostly talking about the stuff that's outside of the streets and the places where we have transportation at this point. And I think that there is some conversation. We need to make sure we don't end up cleaning it all up, making it clean as a whistle, because there are some habitat things there. And then also possibility for fire, residue, some other things. So I think there just is some conversation. I don't remember ever having that kind of conversation before with all the trees that come down this storm. There's something to think about.
Yeah, I'll just add one more thing as well related to that. We are going to have an arborist out as quickly as we can get one to review very specific locations of trees, especially post-storm that have had maybe a couple trees already fall, and now we've got this new little, area that's unshielded from the wind that might have some more potential for things falling in the immediate future. So we'll make sure that wood goes to the appropriate place that can have the most benefit and not just in someone else's pocket.
Good. Great. Rich, you're next. Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry, Kathleen, you're next.
Okay, I do hope there's some sort of more formalized kudos, thank yous to the Parks and Rec folks for Winterfest, the Public Works folks for the storm response. Thank you all for what you're doing. And also just a thank you note to PGE for their responsiveness too, because those guys were just out there at all hours dealing with it too. So appreciate that. I did mention this to Tyler that the new Bell Street has some drainage issues that I don't know if you guys have driven on that much, but we noticed it when we were going to happy hour Friday over at Smoky Hearth, and there's just tons of water on the westbound lane. And I thought, you know, we both kind of said, oh, that's going to freeze. Yeah, that's going to freeze when that, you know, and so now, you know, and then sure, then I drove it on Sunday and it was like 4 inches, and I'm sure it's even thicker now. I didn't even go on it tonight when I had to go to Freddy's. So, cause I was so afraid of the ice. So yeah,
Hey,
it's,
Kathleen, I saw that too, but I don't think it was drainage. I think it was wind-blown, drifted snow that didn't get cleared in a timely fashion and froze up.
no, it was
On a high
raining.
area.
No, because
Okay.
it was raining, you know, it's been raining, and Friday night it was just pouring across the road and it wasn't windy at that point. So it is a drainage issue that needs to, you know, somehow get, you know, something put in along the ditch line or something, or you know, who knows, that's for the PW folks and those guys. But, you know, I think we need to kind of get it done as soon as possible because it's probably still under warranty or something like that. So anyways, I'm sure Jenny and AJ and those guys will kind of run with it. A lot of folks have commented on it. There is a lot of stuff along Bluff Road that, you know, Bluff probably, you know, took a pretty bad beating with all the power lines and everything. Which I assume will eventually, because some of the stuff is still in the road as I was just driving home tonight. And then the Tickle Creek Trail, I haven't been on it yet. And I'm just, you know, I almost cry when one of the last times I went, it's just, you know, having been the, you know, one that walked that when it was just not even a trail yet, and to see it now and the kind of the ongoing blowdown that we're getting there. I know that, Tyler, we have the partnership and grant with the Clackamas Watershed folks. And the thing that I've kind of been emphasizing there is the need to, you know, deal with the noxious weeds and all. That's true, but kind of talking about how much downwood do we need, like you said, Carl, for habitat, but also, you know, it's getting, you know, the neighbors are getting concerned about the fire loading levels. Some of the wood is in the creek and actually kind of rechanneling the creek, which is affecting bridges and sections of the trail. And most of all, we need to kind of start planting replacement trees in there, because we're just losing them. And that's, you know, you can't really stop that, but at some point you need to kind of be planning for a future forest out there. So I'm hoping that project that we have with Clackamas Watershed can kind of incorporate those aspects. And if not, we can, you know, maybe go after some additional grant money or something with different entities out there to kind of get that. It's just, you know, a vegetation management plan is what it is. So, you know, what are you doing with the, you know, the stuff that's still standing? What are you doing with it when it does fall down? And what are you, how are you replacing your stand in the future? So, yeah. You know, it's sad, but it's just also something we just need to kind of be more actively managing, because it is in a lot of flux right now. But thanks for everybody. Like I said, I'm thrilled to see this project, Cedar Park, get started. So great day.
All right, Rich, now you're up. You had a warning. See, the last one was a warning.
No worries. Hey, my voice is in and out today, so I'm gonna I want to make sure that I really highlight, I hate to say everything everybody else has said, but everything else everybody has said about the commitment from staff over this last few days. So thank you very much. Also, I want to say kudos to both of you guys, or whoever was also managing the social media page, because I've noticed those can kind of get out of kilter, but somebody was at least getting on there when people were reporting things and putting the city of Sandy and giving information. So whoever was monitoring that, whether it be Jeff or Tyler or somebody else, thank you for doing that, because that was very much appreciated. Thank you.
We try not to share our secret about Jeff, but Jeff gets a lot of that credit. Thank you, Jeff.
I figured that, so thank you.
My pleasure.
Awesome. Chris, I'll let you go next if you're ready. Otherwise, I will.
Oh, I'll go. One of the benefits of going last among us is everybody said everything already. So I just want to make sure I go on the record and say thank you to the city and staff and the tremendous work they've done during the storm that we've already had. You know, I lost power myself for 8 hours on Saturday, but it was pretty insignificant. You know, I slept most of the time personally because I had a cold. I was a little worried because I saw Fred Meyer and Safeway were both had all their coolers shut down with milk and ice cream. Fred Meyer's has since come back. Safeway looks like they're still down. So they're having trouble, at least is what I read. So hopefully that comes back for our community members. But thank you to the city and staff again for the great work they did. And I appreciate, and that's all I have.
Cool. My understanding, because I talked with one of the representatives at Fred Meyer's yesterday, was that they moved all of their cold storage stuff out into the trailers that they have outside, and so they were able to salvage it because of the temperatures. Whereas Safeway didn't have that opportunity, and therefore they lost everything that was in their cold storage. So, yeah. But I was surprised to hear they were still having trouble today. So I'm with you. I hope they get that fixed soon. I've got a pretty substantial Parks update for you guys from their last meeting. And I think some of you will be interested in a little bit of the data that came back from Winterfest. So let me share with you some of the stuff that came out of the Parks meeting. First of all, you may have noticed, and we talked about it a little bit, that the demo of the skate park started this week. And people have noticed that they're not going to be able to use their skate park for a little while. So there's been a little traffic on the community pages regarding that. There will be a privacy fence put up, so that people can't see everything that's going on. The school district will be protected, and Rochelle is working very closely with the school district on all the safety issues and everything there. The Sandy Bluff shelters, there's 2 shelters that will be delivered in February. So you will see shelters go up at the Bluff Park, as well as kind of a reconfiguration of the dog park there at Bluff Park that should be completed by April. So I know, Kathleen, that's been something that you've been excited about and worked on for quite some time. So John has been working with a park attendance company that does like data on parks usage. And so they were able to extrapolate data of the usage of the park, of Mining Park specifically, in the month of December, going back to 2018. So from 2000, they did 2018, which they estimate we had about 5,000 people utilize the park. In 2021, 3,000, and that would have been in the middle of COVID. So we can understand why the numbers would have been a little lower. In the first year of our Winterfest, which was last year, 2022, there were 8,000 people. And here's the one that's really going to shock you guys, because it shocked me. This last year, into the month of December for Winterfest, there were over 17,000 people who attended Mining Park. So that is huge. And I think that speaks to, yeah, Don's smiling there. Yeah, I know. I knew you'd be the most excited. So, but I think that also speaks to that we're going to need to get these guys some help, right? So they reported that their staff spent 70 hours in the month of December troubleshooting the lights in Mining Park. So that's a lot of time. So we're going to need to look at some problem solving for those guys for next year moving forward. And just the takedown has taken over 108 hours to get all the stuff taken down. So like I said, I'm just trying to kind of hit home that they're going to need some help. Cedar Creek Trail, I was told, is complete. It is not open yet, but it is done. So more to come on that. And maybe something to consider, Tyler. Kathleen gave some great suggestions on some ways, and Carl had some good ideas for Tickle Creek, the trail. But maybe if it's damaged enough, maybe we need to look at having a few volunteer work parties back there to get the community involved a little bit. And that's all I got. Yeah, Don.
So back on your get them help thing. I've brought it up before, and we've talked about the need to create a committee. I don't know if we can give direction to Tyler to bring that proposal to us as soon as possible. I mean, we should. January is the time to start planning for next year's process. We got a couple of key individuals that would love to be on that. I don't know if we need to go through a interview process or whether they can be appointed or it's a volunteer. Whatever's the easiest and fastest, that'd be my recommendation. But I'd love to get that group of interested people motivated and enabled as quick as possible.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think in the past we've used a process generally for any sort of subcommittee of the council. So that would be, the precedent that we've set. Although I guess I don't know, and maybe you do, Councilor Hokanson, how many interested individuals are you aware of? Is it a handful that you already know about?
Two, including a former councilman that have said they would volunteer, and they do these light shows all the time anyway, so they're very interested in participating. I I don't think there's going to be a ton of people volunteering, you know, where we've got to competitively wean out the best of the best. I think at this point, it's anybody who wants to and has capability. The more the merrier, you know, as long as it's got some leadership and ability to organize, self-organize itself.
Yeah, I'm fine with going outside of our traditional path, given that this is more of an informal committee, right? They're going to be providing some suggestion, but they're not necessarily spending dollars. Those dollars have already been allocated in the budget process. So I think a more informal selection process, you know, if you want to just reach out to some people and we can appoint some staff, that's easy for us to work on.
Yeah,
Hey,
I think I'm
can I-
just looking for a proposal that you and staff would support. I mean, we're happy to go out and help with that. I just don't feel comfortable sponsoring a committee without this group approving it.
Yeah, if there's no objections from anyone else, well, I see Jeff's hand up. Maybe he has an objection.
Well, I was just going to suggest maybe the way to proceed would be to like to write down what the scope and charge of this committee would be and like bring it back to the council, and then that would be the next step, and then we can proceed from there.
Sounds great.
Perfect.
All right. Anything else, everyone? All right. Meeting adjourned at 7:50.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Stay warm.
Later
Thanks.
on.
Thanks.
See you guys.